are live. Hello, everyone. It's Suzanne Taylor King with another episode of Unlock Your Way with STK. And woohoo, do we have a guest for you today? Dr. Dorothy Martin-Neville. She is a executive coach for leaders in transition, one of my personal mentors, and a rock star in the coaching world. Welcome, Dr. Dorothy.
Hello there. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited for our conversation today. One of the things that I love most about you is just your willingness to be open and transparent and so conversational. We have had in the past almost 2 years of knowing each other, we have had some of the most incredible conversations, and I'm really excited for my viewers, my listeners, my followers to really grasp the wealth of knowledge that you bring to the table, not only for the public, but for your clients as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, let's get it started. How did this begin for you, this coaching journey? Where did it start?
Oh my goodness. It started actually, I had lived overseas. I had lived overseas for 10 years on Anguilla. And when I came back to the States, I had 3 companies at the time, and I was flying back and forth to America from the Anguilla for 10 years. And when I moved back here, I had full reassessment of where am I with my life? Where am I with all of my companies? What do I want to do with my life going forward? And it took about 2 or 3 years to get a clear picture. And I had previously, as a therapist, seeing 42 patients a week for 20 plus years, doing psychotherapy. And I also had a school that I had founded, the Institute of Healing Arts and Sciences. And I had a nonprofit that I had founded, the Institute for Energy
No
Medicine.
wonder you needed a break in the island.
So, and I had dropped my baby off at university at Cornell when I came back and left the country for 10 years. But in doing so, when I came back to the States after 10 years, reassessed, because America had changed dramatically from when I had left. And it had changed. And the student body was a different population. We had trained thousands, but it was a different population at that time. And it was no longer something I enjoyed. Is very much people far more interested in getting certification because we were approved by the commissioner of the Department of Higher Education. People were thinking if they come to my school, they don't need to do personal growth. They'll just graduate, do the minimum amount of work, get a certification. They can charge insurance companies for work as a healer, as an energy medicine practitioner, and life was easy. That was not the premise of my school. I trained people, physicians, nurses, occupational therapists, physical therapists, all kinds of folks, as well as lay people who wanted to be energy medicine practitioners, in the psycho-spiritual cause or correlation of physical disease and disorders. And it really was a 4-year transformational program, so that the folks who graduated from my program were not the same people as those who entered. There was an absolute transformational process that took place for them as individuals, as well as them as medical practitioners. And when people simply wanted certification, they didn't want that transformational process.
Yeah.
It no longer was the program I had established and had for 19 years. It was a very different, it was simply an academic program. And that's not what I wanted. I taught in grad school for years. I was a clinical instructor at UConn Medical School. Just running an academic program was of no interest. So I ended up closing that. In closing that, I closed the nonprofit as well, because my students were the ones who would be doing research, utilizing grants to use my work in relationship to various diseases. So all those businesses closed, and I thought, what do I do next? And I could go back to being a full-time therapist, but I had no interest in doing that anymore. I wanted so much more. I wanted to have far greater impact. And having worked with these leaders in medicine that had gone through my program, I saw for every physician or nurse or whomever that went through my program, I was not only impacting them, I was impacting the thousands of people they would be working with over the course of their career, right? Yeah. So my legacy, if you will, in healthcare was being spread to thousands by every student that went through my program. And I thought, how can I have the greatest impact again
Mhm.
with this sense of presence, this sense of knowing, this inner wisdom that I possessed at this point. How could I most affect the world now without the school? And my thought was, I could go into coaching, which didn't exist when I left the country, which now was an industry here in the
Mhm.
States. Not what it is today, but it was a new
Yeah.
industry in the States. And I thought, ooh, let me research this. And so I studied with the woman who had helped develop Tony Robbins coaching programs. And so I studied with Carolyn and out in Marina Del Rey. So I flew out there for about a year training with her and thought that if I could work with executives who are in transition and allow them to see it as a freeing experience of coming alive,
Mm.
they could have such an impact on their organization, whether they had 100 employees or 100,000 employees. The
Yeah.
impact, the cultural impact that that could make would be massive in supporting people's emotional, spiritual, and physical health
Mhm.
by recognizing that when we come from our values, when we come from our vision, when we come from our purpose, the work we're doing feeds us, it doesn't drain us.
Oh,
So,
I I I'm speechless because it's actually happened to me in working with you. Everything you just said, I'm experiencing full force right now. Um, I have goosebumps on my whole entire my hair is standing up on the back of my neck and my arms right now, so thank you. Love when that happens. But this experience of becoming, this experience of stepping into your full potential
right.
is really priceless, priceless. So thank you so much for doing the work that you do and the ripple effect that it will have on my future clients, that it's already having on my friends and my family. And I think that really needs to be conceptualized
Yeah,
because that's that's the difference that leaders get when they hire you. And let's just talk about the fact that 3 people who I've known for years did not recognize me when they saw me. And now it's been 6 months, a couple of them a couple years. But let's talk a little bit about the fact of becoming unrecognizable as a leader. Your whole entire being
right.
changes when you do this work.
It does. Because when you have a belief system, and this really is a holistic transformational approach,
Yeah.
which is who I am and what I do, right? But when you have a belief system that I can make it happen, I can get us there, I can pull us through,
Mhm.
there is a congested energy that comes together in a place of force and place of will, which is really all the energy in the back of your body. You're pushing your way through and all these imaginary enemies, these imaginary obstacles, these struggles. So there's a real belief in the need to struggle and to push.
Yes.
That brings your energy in. It really contracts it because you've got to become, you can imagine a football running down the field. They're ready to go and they're protecting themselves from anybody who's going to take them down when they want to make that goal, that touchdown. So it just is really something else altogether.
Mm.
When you can give up the idea of struggle, when you give up the idea of confronting every obstacle that comes in your way, you stop running in defense
Yes.
and you start sitting back, being far more clear about where it is I want to go or where it is I want to take my company, whichever it may be. And as you're far clearer about that, you're focused on taking yourself or your company where you want it to go. You're far less focused on all the obstacles, imaginary obstacles, more times than not. All of
Yeah.
those are the situations that are showing up. So you have a completely different view of where you're going. You're coming at this from a far more peaceful and purposeful place.
Mhm.
That this is where I want us to go. All
Yeah.
right. My experience in working with leaders is frequently when they run into a theoretical obstacle, they want to attack it, take it down.
Mhm.
My perspective is always, is there a way we can simply walk around it and keep on going? Now, some need to be dealt with because they could become
Mhm.
infectious and become larger. Some
Right.
of them are just a distraction. So let's just walk around it and keep on going. And as we're walking, we know we've protected ourselves against that, but without the fear, without the battle, and
Yeah.
just put something in place and we keep on going. And it becomes just a bump in the road rather than a major obstacle that keeps getting us stuck. But if I believe that life is a struggle, I am going to find struggle everywhere.
Yeah.
If I believe life is a gift, and yeah, things show up, I'm going to deal with things when they show up, but I'm just dealing with them. I'm
Mm.
not fighting them. I'm not in
Oh, I love
battle,
that.
right? I'm not anxious. I'm not in aggression
Yeah.
because I can't have my creativity, my intuitiveness, my innovativeness working beautifully if I'm in aggression.
Mm.
I need to be back in a place of peace. I'm not saying there's no innovation in aggression. It's just that there's so much more when you're not in that state of mind. And your energy is dramatically different. And if you're sitting in a room, somebody walks in, and the energy they walk in with is, I'm ready to attack you,
Uh-huh.
you shift your energy. You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
watch this. And
Yeah.
now here we go. Or you collapse because you're frightened.
Mhm.
How you carry your energy has massive impact. So if
Yes.
you have a belief that there's struggle everywhere, guess what? Folks are going to show up to battle with you.
Oh, that self-sabotage, that subconscious, uh,
Absolutely.
limiting beliefs or self-sabotage or whatever it is shows up so fiercely, and I've seen it with my clients, I've seen it with myself. Um, what do you do if somebody doesn't see how that's showing up for them?
Well, I like to do reality checks,
Mm,
because I can do all the theory in the world and they get caught in their head. If
yes.
we do reality checks on, tell me about some of your experiences with the last 5 struggles you've had.
Mm,
Tell me how they showed up. Tell me how you dealt with them. Tell me what's going on now in relationship to it. And when then frequently folks don't see patterns. When they can see there's a pattern in how they deal or don't deal, there's a pattern in the ramification. Then all of a sudden, it's not my intellectual awareness here. It's looking at their life and the pragmatic realities of what's taken place. All
yes.
right.
Yes.
And when you can develop that level of emotional intelligence, I can understand how I operate. I can see what I do in this situation. I can see how I reacted or responded in this situation.
Mhm.
Now I am far more aware next time I'm in that situation of what I'm doing and what I'm
Yes,
not doing.
yes.
When you develop that level of self awareness without self judgment, self hatred, self blame, any of that, just self understanding, you
Mhm.
have a far greater understanding of other people.
Yes.
And with that, then I can look at somebody and energetically see they're not coming in from truth. They're smooth, but there's something they're hiding. They're smooth, but what they're saying doesn't correlate to what I've just seen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I don't go into fear and battle and I'm going to get them. And who do they think they are trying to trick me? It's like, wait a minute, what's really going on? Because if this is how they're operating with me, this is how they operate everywhere,
Yes.
right? So let me respond to them differently than all the other people and how they respond to them. I'm
Yeah.
not going to take them off. Yes, I'm going to stay from back perhaps nobody else has asked them. And I get that frequently. I think I told you yesterday, the other day, about on Zoom here, who I blew her out of the water. Somebody said, "You've got to meet this woman." I called her. We had a Zoom session.
Mhm.
And I simply said to her, "Hi, nice to meet you as well." And then I said, "Tell me something about yourself." I said, "I know I can read LinkedIn. It gives me the facts. I'd love to know from you. Tell me something about yourself that's more than the facts."
Mhm.
And she went, "Nobody's ever asked me about me."
Wow.
And I thought, I didn't sit here thinking, how could I throw her off base? What could I do? There
Mm-mm.
was no devious plot. There was just by working,
Mhm.
that's much more authentic to who I am.
Yeah.
I want to know who you are, not
Mhm.
just the facts of what you've done or not done with your life, because I know what you've done can say very little about who you are.
Isn't that the truth?
Okay. I want to know you. And
Yes.
so this woman was absolutely thrown. And that is a common reaction for me of people saying, nobody's ever asked me that before. Or
Mhm.
where did that question come from? Um, just an honest desire to know you.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to be in any type of relationship with you, especially if you're going to be my client, I want to know who you are because that's where the transformational change begins. Because just to give you things to do, I could stay here and just type it up and send it to you.
Right.
But to know who you are means I want to know how you function emotionally, how you function spiritually. What kind of energy do you put out into the world?
Mhm.
What reaction do you get from the energy you put out into the world?
Yeah.
And is it the reaction or response you're looking for?
Yeah.
Because if people are reacting to you, they're not able to see you. If people respond to you, it's because they saw you.
Oh, I love that. I think one of the gifts of that work is bravery, that
Yeah.
it allows you as a leader, as a coach, I mean, just as a human in general, it allows you to go out into the world fully expressed as yourself and affect the people or lead the people that are meant to be led, right? Like
Hmm.
I was in a room of 50 people the other night in person, and there was a woman I talked to who was looking for her next position. And I have a knack with people like that.
Mm.
And in the past, I would not have, I think I would have just behaved differently. But the bravery that came out, I said,
Hmm.
"Tell me about your passions and your skills and the things you love to do." And she said, "Oh, nobody's ever asked me that
Uh-huh.
before." And she said all of these things. And I said, "Do you mind if I share what I heard?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, I would love that." I said, "It's 3 words. You're a concierge, very boutique networker or connector." And she went, "Oh my god, that's a whole business in 3 words." And I
Hmm.
said, "It doesn't have to be a business, but it's definitely who you are with all of those things that you said." And she said, "I don't know who you are or what you do, but that was amazing. And thank you for being so brave."
Right. That is truly who you are.
It
And so
is.
what you're saying to me is you showed up.
Yes,
You
but
showed up.
only
Just
because of this work that we're talking about. I
right.
couldn't I wanted to show up like that. I had the desire to show up like that, but it was energetically impossible to do without the past 2 years of work on myself. And most are not willing to do that work. That's my little pat on the back. But I will say it's the most powerful thing you ever do for yourself as a leader, as a whether you're an influencer, a CEO, whether like if you do that, all of the people on your team, your board of directors, your children will have a different reaction to you. And that's what we're all trying to do as leaders, as
Mhm.
humans in the world. Let's talk a little bit about the ripple effect of doing this work for yourself as a leader. How have you seen it affect the rest of a leader's life? Like where does it trickle down to?
Oh, it trickles down completely. I had one client I can discuss. When she hired me, she had heard me speak someplace. She hired me, and was head of a major division of a major hospital here in the US, and said, I need a coach. And I said, oh, how can I help? She said, everybody in my office is a pain in the.
Hmm.
And I said, really? And of course, to myself, I'm laughing, thinking, there may be one pain in the butt in that
Commonality
office,
there.
and I wonder who that
Yeah.
could be. But I said, ooh, I said, you didn't hire them. She goes, no. And I treat them all really terrific. I don't know what the hell their problem is, because I do
Mm.
everything right with them. And I thought, okay,
Oh boy.
let's start. And when that's how she came on, that's what she wanted to work with. What I know from experience is that that's really what this is really about.
Mhm.
That's the safest thing to present, right?
Mhm.
And so when I could say to her, after about an hour of discussing this in our first session, first time together, I said, do you realize you've used the term I over 30 times in the hour we're talking? I said, could it be that everything's about you? Well, I'm the leader. Yes, actually, you're the boss. That's a big difference. You're the boss here. You're not the leader.
Mm.
So if I'm going to support you in your leadership, let's take a look at what's going on. And by the time we did that, and this is just one small isolated incident, by the time we did that, and then could look at how she was working with all the different committees within the hospital setting, and look at all of the different heads of departments and heads of a school versus the hospital versus with the clinics versus all these other divisions.
Mhm.
When you learn to deal with the first group differently, and it
Yeah.
isn't about simply changing behavior, when it becomes about us as a team, and this not it's not the problem with everybody I work with, but I'm just using this one example. When we could move into us instead of I, not that the I was never said, the I was important,
Mhm.
but when it's us, it changes. So
Yeah.
then it changes how she goes into meetings in different departments. It changes how she goes into meetings every place else. But more importantly, it changes how she sees herself in the world.
Mm.
Because if I need to be in charge, because a good leader is in charge of everything and everybody and knows exactly what's going on everywhere at all times with everybody, not only am I going to be overwhelmed, I'm going to become physically ill.
Yes.
I am going to be exhausted, overwhelmed, and in defense as a way of life.
Yeah.
When it becomes us, there's a whole other division there. I can let go of 60 pounds of energetic baggage because now I can be present and
Yeah.
share the responsibility. Yes, you may be the last point of blame, if you will, or the last point of credit,
Mhm.
but you're not carrying it all on your own shoulders. And you don't have to be responsible for everybody and everything. You can allow yourself to develop leaders all around you.
That's a vulnerability piece that I think a lot of
Absolutely.
leaders don't realize,
Right.
right? Instead of being the guru and do what I say leader, you become the guide that encourages other people to step into their leadership, thereby being a better leader. And that feels hard for people. That
It's
feels
scary. It's
yeah,
scary. Right. It is scary because, I mean, that's where the whole imposter syndrome comes from,
yes,
because of who we are supposed to be as leaders.
yeah,
And that's an image somebody created,
yeah,
but it's a fallacy. And so when we can step back and look at, when I know what my vision is for me, and if I'm an entrepreneur or a small business person, a medium-sized business, when I know for my business that I founded, I know what the vision is. And I'm so in love with my vision and creating and having the impact and influence I want with that. You find out that that becomes infectious.
mm,
The people you work with end up having the same vision.
yeah,
So they come into work, and we all have bad days. We all don't want to go there. And we all have parts of our job that we don't like, whether it's the paperwork or the phone calls, or matter.
mhm,
There's always pieces we don't like. But if I'm in love with my vision, and I bring that up to everybody else, then what ends up happening is that they are living their vision. Far more creative than I am. They may have another idea that I didn't think about. And so together we're expanding the vision. And now this is about passion. This is about vibrancy. This is
Mhm.
about loving what I'm doing. Think of the culture in that company.
Oh, that's what I was just gonna say, it's contagious culture, like, that's amazing culture
Yeah. Yeah.
to I've been in that environment in the dental world, and it was amazing. It was it was a marketing team on steroids when you have,
Mhm.
20 people all just functioning together and loving where they work and sharing that with the outside world. My boss at the time didn't need marketing because of that, because we were all like these advocates for the brand and the company. And I don't think people fully understand that. And Renee, who's joining us on LinkedIn, um, I hope that's how you pronounce your name, Renee. Um, he has a question for us or for you, Dr. Dorothy. Can you unpack the difference between a leader and a boss, and how somebody goes from being a boss when they work with you to being that leader?
Oh, most definitely. There's a huge differentiation. A boss
Mm,
is someone who is very much in charge. I, Hosey, I'm the head. This is it. This is the way
mm,
it's going to go. This is the way we
yeah,
don't need to discuss anything. There's
yeah.
nothing to talk about. I've just given my dictate out there, and you will go by my dictation here. This is what we're doing. I am the great in charge dictator of the place. A leader inspires.
Mm,
A leader calls people to follow them because people believe in the vision. People believe in the individual, even if they don't understand your vision, because it's maybe too expansive for them to understand the full picture, or maybe it's so involved it takes too long to explain that you have in a particular meeting.
mhm.
But if they believe in you,
Yeah,
they follow you. They
yeah.
trust you. And
Wow.
they trust that where you are taking them is going to be someplace they want to go.
Mm,
And in doing that, they become so excited about whatever this project is, or the entire purpose of the company, whatever it may be. Because in larger companies, we're talking about departments or divisions of a company, but it becomes a culture where they feel comfortable offering you an idea. And you don't have to take it, but when you can value hearing it,
mhm.
they feel terrific. My daughter called me a couple years ago and she said, Mom, I'm calling the 5 most powerful, intelligent women I know. I may not take your ideas, but I want to run something by you. What are your thoughts on this particular subject? And so she canvassed 5, and it wasn't like any one of them was right, but she wanted to get different perspectives on it. And
Mhm.
from all of that, it allowed her to take her idea to the next level. And so
Yeah.
she might have taken a piece of everybody's or most of somebody's, it doesn't really matter. But it was a willingness to say, I'm the leader in where I'm going.
Mhm.
And I want input to help expand where that is. Think of how important those 5 people felt that
Yeah.
they could offer suggestions, not advice, but suggestions to somebody and where to take the rest of the journey that they were walking, right? That the validation and the respect that you get when you do that. A leader is going to do that with folks in the company. You may be quite surprised. Even the receptionist has an idea of something that could be changed because
Mm.
he or she is dealing with something every single day.
Yeah.
Say, thank
Yeah.
you for asking. I think we should do such and so. And
Mhm.
boy, when they feel that respected, you bet they have a greater pride in their position. They have a
Absolutely.
greater pride in working with you. And
Yeah,
yeah, they didn't
sometimes
have.
sometimes the mail room, the mail
Mhm,
delivery
mhm.
guy, sometimes he sees way more than the CEO, so it's really important to get that input from
Feedback,
the
feedback.
whole entire team. Yes.
And they become more invested in the company and in you as
Yeah.
the leader,
Yes.
because you as the leader heard what they had to say. Now, a
Yes.
boss is going to say, we will do it the way I said we do it.
Mhm.
A leader is going to say, I hadn't even thought about that. Thank you. And it's not because I'm dumb. It's not because I don't think. It's because I've got so much else on my plate. I never thought about that, but that's an important thing for me to look at. And
Yes.
now you've changed the energy. So that is what a leader does. It's not what a boss does. And,
Mm,
you know, and boy, does it make your life much easier as the leader because you're getting input from people who trust you and you're getting people far more invested in your company.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering that
Yeah,
for him and for all of us. My last question for you
certainly.
is about that personal ROI
Hmm.
that leaders get when they work with you. Um, let's talk about that personal just effect that this work has.
It's it's life changing. It's life changing. Those who truly work with me, and it's a good price. So because it isn't just dropping ideas, it's
Mhm,
transformational work.
mhm,
So my experience is that what many have said to me is, you didn't change my career. You changed my life.
mm,
My relationship with my partner is dramatically different. It's what I always wanted and never thought I could have. My relationship with my kids is dramatically different. My outlook on life is something I can't believe exists.
mhm,
And what they will say to me is, before, I would rephrase it as they were surviving. They were getting through their life. And whether you make 50,000 or 50 million, when you're getting through the day, you're surviving.
yeah,
When you can come back, and this is the feedback I get, you have changed how I approach life. You've changed how I see me. You've changed my ability to see my future in a whole new way that I couldn't have imagined a year ago.
mm,
Right?
beautiful.
So it's really about providing a whole new approach to their life. And it doesn't mean changing their jobs or quitting or retiring or going to another company, whatever the case may be, whatever their situation is. They may do that, but it
Mm,
may be they stay in the same place, but they do it in a dramatically different way,
yeah,
and they don't need the defenses they have. They don't need the affairs or the alcohol or the drugs or whatever. I have a drink. I mean, I have nothing against anything. I don't really care. But when you go and hide
mm,
because you don't know how to let go of the stress,
mhm,
because you don't know how to deal, you don't reach that level except on rare occasions. Now, nothing makes your life perfect. Welcome to life. But when you know how to deal with the difficult times without going into major defense, they become half as difficult,
yeah.
right?
And that's really when you get the financial
Right.
ROI from working
Always.
on yourself, working on your team, working on culture, working on performance, working on your business in general. The only way to get a financial ROI is if you're willing to look at and see things differently, right? Like if you're going to change a marketing campaign for a major company because you want to focus on making more money, it's about seeing things differently. You need a different perspective. And I'm
Absolutely.
I'm so lucky to have received that perspective from you. Um, and anyone who chooses to work with you and do this work will receive not only financial rewards, but just the internal rewards of knowing you're making a bigger difference in the world, affecting more people with just that presence that is so needed in today's world.
And
And
it does. And the money goes so much further as well.
oh yeah.
When we were talking about the employees, when they're invested in your company
Mhm,
because they know you've heard them,
mhm.
they're working harder. They're working more productively. They are more invested. You're making money because
Yeah.
your people are working far more effectively. And because you're not in tightness and defense,
Mhm.
you have the ability to be far more creative. What you can
Yeah.
bring into your company is far more than you could have brought in when you were surviving and making it go. And what
Yes.
ends up happening is because of that, you may create more streams of income. You may find other usages for products you already possess. There's so many more things that can happen for you. You can expand the company's divisions. You can do so many more things.
Yeah.
That financial development comes and your appreciation of the benefits
Yeah.
of that financial development comes because you're in a mindset, you're in a place where your creativity is feeding you and you have far more enjoyment to appreciate
Mm.
that vacation, to appreciate the luxury that you now have.
Yes.
And it's not that you didn't have the best before, but now you can see it in a completely different way. That financial freedom that is a huge benefit. It's
Mhm.
not the sole goal. It's the huge benefit. And it becomes more
Yes.
and more of a benefit when it's not the goal. And that seems amazingly ironic, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've met many, many
Yeah.
unhappy millionaire, billionaire in my time, and, it's not about the money, and the people who think it's about the money probably want more of it, and that's the problem.
Well, and actually, I had that conversation this morning
Oh, did you?
that money is your reason for doing this. You will
Mhm.
never have enough.
Mm.
Right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
wanted 1 million, now I want 10 million, now I want 100 million. Why can't I create a half a million, 500 million? Why can't I be a billionaire? Where is the problem here? Um, how many billionaires are saying I have enough?
Yeah.
Right? When I have a vision and it is so creative and enough people are online with me to make this happen, now all this money is coming in and that's glorious, but my real passion is the vision is getting larger and larger and the money keeps pouring in and there's never going to be there's not enough.
Yeah.
There's more than enough and you know it, but with your vision it's never that I didn't have it. It's I'm so excited by how big it keeps getting, by
Yes.
the impact and influence I keep having, and that's exciting. And now we're talking about excitement versus desperation because it's never enough.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
that's a perfect wrap
Yeah.
up. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank
This
you.
feels like a coaching session for any of our listeners. So if any of you want to get in touch, please follow Dorothy on LinkedIn. Her content is just absolutely stellar and meaningful. But how can they get in touch with you, Dorothy, besides LinkedIn?
Certainly my email is Dorothy at askdrdorothy.com, Dorothy at askdrdorothy.com. They have that my website, askdrdorothy.com. They've got both. Just check me out, drop me a line if they choose. I love this work. I absolutely love this work. And to me, the gift of bringing freedom to people through the transformational process and expanding their leadership, their impact, their influence, it increases their income and it increases their enjoyment of life.
Oh, yeah.
And because of what you and I both know, it also increases their health,
Yes.
you know, because
Yes.
a happy life becomes a healthy life.
Absolutely. Well,
Right.
thank you so much for being a guest here today and such a soul force in my life. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It's always a joy. Bye bye.
Bye.